Chapter 19 to 20. Now, what do we have here? Historia says with a slightly cold tone. Reiner and Annie then realize that Historia is actually Krista Lenz. But she isn't like the same girl as before. Krista, is that you? Reiner mutters in shock. He still remembers the girl that helps him back at Utgard Castle. It's Historia Rice to you. Krista Lenz is just a fake name that my father gave to me so that I wouldn't be killed like my mother. Historia says while turning to Hang. Since you're not part of the Survey Corps anymore, so you've decided to team up with Marley to stop the rumbling, am I right? Your Highness, the rumbling itself is in the wrong. Hang tries to reason. All of us don't want genocide, and you also need to understand that we're doing this for humanity. You have to know that none of the Survey Corps comrades who died also wants this to happen. But why would you also agree to such an act? Did Eren manipulate you to do such a thing? Historia closes her eyes and says, every decision that I make, it all comes from my own free will. Eren didn't manipulate me. He loves and cares for me so much that he would rather die than do such a thing. If so, but why? Connie asks. You used to help everyone and everyone treats you like a goddess. Why would you change this much to do such a thing? That was Krista Lenz. A fake identity that I throw away after joining the Levi squad that day. Historia says, for years ago, my father wanted me to devour Eren and take his powers back. That day, I refused my father and I freed Eren. I vowed that I don't care about killing all the Tians, and I don't care about freeing mankind either. I'm starting to get sick of humanity. I say let them get wiped out by Titans. And if that makes me an enemy of humanity, then so be it. I don't care if I'm the worst girl who's ever lived. But even though I'm an enemy of humanity, I'm still Eren's ally. Historia. You. Armin and the others are shocked. This isn't the same queen that they know for years. Historia says, and don't think I never knew anything about you trying to feed Eren to take his powers. The bombing of Premier Zachary, I was the one who orders it, not Eren. You military has taken over the government and I am not going to continue making myself the puppet queen in my people's eyes. Just because I was pregnant with Eren's child doesn't mean I'm going to let you do anything to harm the one I loved. Hearing those words caused Reiner to be sad. He always wants to marry Krista, but it seems that Eren has beaten her to it. Mikasa is also guarding in front of Historia, with her blades out. Mikasa. Jean says, why are you glaring at us like that? My duty is to guard the queen and the Ajamabitos. I am not going to let you kidnap them. Mikasa says silently. But Mikasa, you have to understand, people are dying out there. Armin says, there are so many lives that I care about, and our enemies made deciding that easy 10 years ago. So, you're mistaken to seek any compassion from me, because I'm out of room in my heart to care. Mikasa says, if we let you stop the rumbling, Parody Island will sink into the sea of blood. The world will take vengeance on us. Our people's parents, brothers, sisters, and children, they're going to be slaughtered. Oh right, why do you care? After stopping the rumbling, you would just like that Willy Tiber, living as heroes who stopped the rumbling, and the same thing would happen again. Historia says with a cold tone. Maybe after a few years, you will gather all the alliance and declare war on Parody, just like what Willy Tiber does. We're not going to do that. Hang gasps in horror. What makes you think we're going to do that? Isn't it obvious? The attack titan can see the future. Historia says. Mikasa widens her eyes a little. She knows that Eren never says something like this. But then she realizes that Historia is lying to them because she wants to stop them from stopping the rumbling. Eren, Mikasa, and I share no secrets now, so he would tell me what he saw in the future. And there is no reason for him to lie to us, because we will never betray the man we love, and the people who care for us. I know that talking is no use. We can only fight our way through. Annie says as the Marleyans are preparing their weapons, Historia says, and I'm sure you remember the only friend I had, Ymir, right? The former Jaw Titan until that guy ate her. This causes everyone to widen their eyes as they almost forgot about that person. Historia says, I'm doing this for her as well. She was the one who wants me to live a life that I'm proud of, and she also told me of her past. I blame Marley for her suffering. So if you want to stop the rumbling, I won't stop you, however. 2 of you must die here if you want to go to the airship. 2? But that's... Hang says, if you all want to die, that's also fine. Mikasa says, when you were here, we've already called Eren and the Power of 9 to come here. If you think you can defeat them with the strength you have, then you're mistaken. The Power of 9 is now back to their families, so that means they won't be affected by the curse, and they are able to use the full power that not even the world knows about. Galliard says, then if you want to kill someone, then kill me. Galliard. Gabby and Falco gasp, and Colt asks, what are you doing, Galliard? I was the one who ate that friend you said, Ymir, right? I've gotten her memories and I knew how she cared about you. If anything, I was the one who caused her death. So kill me, and leave the others alone. Galliard says, very well. Historia says, and the other one? Reiner wants to step forward like Galliard, but Magath stops him. He says, I've done nothing I can be proud of. I ignored the voice of my own conscience and turned children into good little soldiers. I was the one who ordered Reiner, Annie, and 2 others to breach those walls. But I finally realized if those kids could have lived normal lives, how happy that would have made me. General Magath, you can't mean. Reiner gasps and Historia sighs. Indeed, because the walls are breached, Eren had to watch his mother being eaten by the Titan, and his father was forced to devour and kill my family so he could steal the founding Titan. I can see how you devoted your will to stop the rumbling, even if it means your death. Your Highness, do you really need to kill them so that you could let us go? Armin asks. Isn't there another way? You can try to talk and stall us. But that means Liberio is already being flattened. Historia says. We are not going to let the rumbling take much time. After all, a quick death is easier than a slow death. Magath says, just do it. If that means saving the world, then we won't have any regrets. Very well, Historia says as she signals to kill the 2 people. Everyone can turn away as they see their bodies being shot to death. And once they're dead, Historia says, now that our deal is done, I'll let you go. However, I'm not sure how you're going to get to the rumbling since none of you were able to fly the flying boat. You. So what's the point of doing that? Jean asks. Historia says, Mikasa, call Onyankopon over here. Mikasa nods as she leaves. Then after a while, Onyankopon arrives and asks, you're looking for me, Your Highness? These people want to stop the rumbling, so I need you to fly the flying boat for them. But once you drop them off, you'll return here.
Historia replies.
Of course. Onyankopon says as he leads the soldiers to the ship. Historia says, if there is a miracle that you stop the rumbling, you have to know that the people of Parity aren't going to welcome you with open arms. If you want to take such a huge gamble, then go forward. Thanks for the warning. Hang says, but we've already made up our minds. Then they all board the plane and leave, and at the same time, the train arrives and Eren rushes to find Mikasa and Historia. Eren still has baby Ymir in his arms, and he asks, so you're finding me?
Eren.
Why are you holding Ymir in your hands? Historia asks. Shouldn't you have Gloria take care of it while coming to find us? You said that it is an emergency, so I just came here as soon as possible. So what's the problem?
Eren asks.
Oh right. Mikasa was just vomiting a few minutes ago. We need your help to see what's wrong with her. Historia says. Eren widens his eyes and says, okay, I'll check it out. Then he notices the soldiers gathering around and a plane flying off. Eren asks, let me guess, Armin, Hang, and the others are on the plane over there? Yes, we've still decided to let them stop the rumbling. However, in exchange, we want them to have 2 people killed. Historia says. Eren widens his eyes and says, that was really bold of you. I mean, wanting 2 people to get killed? That wasn't something I've heard from you. The former Jaw Titan and the general who led the attack were killed. Historia says, at least I got my revenge on Ymir. You did. Eren frowns as they get into a room where Mikasa is lying on the mattress. Eren widens his eyes after seeing what is going on with Mikasa. So what happened to her? Historia asks, and Eren says, Mikasa. She's pregnant. This causes everyone to widen their eyes in shock. Mikasa blushes a little and says, me? Pregnant? Congratulations, Mikasa. Historia cheers. Looks like Ymir is going to have a younger sibling to play with. But, Mikasa says, I can't just get pregnant now. I mean, there is still a lot of work to do. Don't worry, Historia, and I can handle the work for you. You just need to take some rest, just like how Historia did back at her farm. Lady Kiyomi says, that is also wonderful news, Mikasa. A child with the parity will also strengthen our bond of the 2 nations. Mikasa can only nod while saying nothing, but deep down, she's happy to have a child with Eren. Back in the flying boat, everyone is having a gloomy mood. When Onyankopon tells them that Liberio is already destroyed, Annie is now depressed. Then, now, there's no point in me staying here. Annie frowns. I'm leaving. Even if I stop and stand my ground, Marley and Eldian's destruction is inevitable. Magath and Galliard knew about this, but they risked their lives to save all of you. This isn't about Liberio or Marley anymore. It's about saving the lives of people you don't know, and they entrust you with this. At the same time, the global Allied fleet makes a stand against the approaching Wall Titans in Port Acrifa. We have the world's largest cannons on the planet. I gathered it here. Humanity's hopes are aiming toward the same goals. This massive fleet can't be stopped. If we can't stop this, humanity will cease to exist. Employ ground forces. The ships are shooting cannons at the colossal titans approaching through swimming, but none of the cannons are working, and the titans can scorch a ship's crew to death by swimming underneath it so that the heat of their bodies turns the water around the ship to steam. On land, soldiers attempt a similar futile artillery barrage from the harbor before retreating to higher ground. Then not just the soldiers, but the people that welcomed Eren and the others back in the refuge camp, all of them are being trampled by the rumbling. People are crying as some of them are still running, while some of them hug and wait for their doom. Armin is sitting on the plane as he has been wondering what Eren said. The world was right to hate us. To them, we will never stop being devils that can kill them all at any time. If I don't unleash the rumbling, you're going to be the ones to die next. Then he also remembers what Mikasa and Historia said. If we let you stop the rumbling, Paradis Island will sink into the sea of blood. The world will take vengeance on us. Our people's parents, brothers, sisters, and children, they are going to be slaughtered. Maybe after a few years, you will gather all the alliance and declare war on Paradis, just like what Willy Tiber does. There are so many lives that I care about, and our enemies made deciding that easy 10 years ago. So, you're mistaken to seek any compassion from me, because I'm out of room in my heart to care. Armin holds his head and says, damn it, not just Eren, Historia and Mikasa as well. Why would they? Annie comes and says, mind if I sit here? Armin nods, and Annie sits beside Armin. I realized that I hadn't thanked you yet. Huh, Armin asks, for coming to talk to me over all those years. Thank you, Annie says. Oh yeah, Armin replies. I was so lonely. I thought I was gonna lose my mind. The only thing I had to look forward to was listening to you and Hitch. Oh Annie, Armin sighs. Tell me, why bother talking to a rock that couldn't so much as grunt a response back? Huh, Armin is confused. I mean, there must have been girls out there more fun and cheerful than me, right? No, Annie, I did it because I missed you. Armin frowns. Why? Annie asks. Do you really not get it? Even after Hitch teased me so much. Annie has tears in her eyes as she says, I don't. She sighs and says, what are we doing here? Right now, hundreds of millions of people are being trampled around the world. And us, what are we doing? Yeah. Armin says, now I get it, you're a good person. So you're even willing to talk to an enemy like me, right? Is why you won't give up on trying to reason with Eren and the Queen. Why you visited with the terrible female titan who could wake up at any moment. Anything to avoid conflict, right? Annie decides to leave, but Armin grabs her hand and says, sit back down. And I know I've told you this before, but I've decided I really don't like being called a good person. I've killed a lot of people, not just soldiers, regular people, children, and now I've made the choice to betray everyone living on the island where I was born and raised. I've been a terrible monster myself for a long time. Somewhere in my mind, there was a promise that I made to Eren, that we'd travel the unknown, outside world. I thought it would come true. The unknown. It wasn't all it was cracked up to be, was it? No, it wasn't the world we dreamed of. But I want to believe that there's still a place we know nothing about somewhere, beyond the walls, Armin says. At the same time, on another side of the flying boat, Falco is screaming and muttering. All of them are dead already? Our entire family? Colt frowns and says, the rumbling already flattened most of the Marleyan continent. There's nothing we can do. Gabby says, before Eren does the rumbling, I've heard some of the conversations that he said back then. None of them wanted the rumbling to happen, but the world decided to refuse peace. Falco, back then, you told me that the reason our home was trampled was that their home was trampled and this was revenge. I finally realized what it meant. Gabby. Falco is surprised. And at another side of the room, Levi is trying to walk, and Connie says, Captain, you still need to rest. You want me asleep in bed? You're going to forget I even exist if I rest any longer. Levi says, my goal is to kill Zeke, and that doesn't even change a thing. But Zeke is already dead. You should have known that. Jean says, no, I refuse to believe he died that easily. He must be somewhere on Paradis Island. Levi replies, in the dungeon. Zeke finally opens his eyes as he looks around. He realizes that he's in the dungeon, and he hears a voice, so you're awake. He sees Eren standing in front of him, and he's holding a baby in his arms. Zeke is confused and he asks, Eren? What? But, Zeke, you want me to euthanize every Eldian. There's no way in hell I'd ever go along with a plan that messed up. Sorry, but I just played along this whole time. But Eren, so long as there are Eldians, this hell will never end. If you don't do it here, this bloodshed will never stop. What we've done so many times will only continue for eternity. So why? Because we're born into this world. Eren says, I want you to meet my daughter, Ymir. Ymir. Zeke is surprised as he stares at the blonde-haired girl in Eren's arms. She used to be the founder, trapped in the paths, wandering for eternity as a slave. But I freed her 4 years ago, and she decided to become my daughter. Needing the Titan of royal blood to use the founding Titan, you also forgot one thing. The Jaeger family is also the royal blood, and since I also have the attack titan, the vow was broken 4 years ago. Zeke can only stare at Eren with shock, and Eren continues. My father never brainwashed me. From my old man's memories, I've learned how he treated you. If you don't believe me, why don't I show you instead? Then Eren turns and brings Ymir to a soldier. Then he uses the attack titan's powers to bring Zeke into Grisha's memories. At the same time, Flock and the others are having a meeting and Flock asks, Your Highness, why didn't you stop those people from leaving the island and stop the rumbling? Historia says, there is no amount of talking that will change their minds. They've already made their decision. They are also willing to sacrifice 2 of their comrades just to do such a thing. But the rumbling is not that easy to stop. That might be true, but where is Eren? Peter asks. Since Zeke has woken up, Eren is having a meeting with him. Although I am not sure bringing Ymir with him is a good idea. Mikasa frowns a little. Nobody can know Zeke is still alive this whole time, or else chaos will continue. Gloria says, that's why we lied to everyone that Zeke is dead. At least it will buy them some peace. Indeed. By the way, Mikasa, I heard that you're pregnant. Congratulations. Sasha says. Thanks. Mikasa says with a slight blush. So what are you going to name your children? I asks. We thought that if it was a boy, then we'll name it Eric. If it was a girl, then we'll name it Carla. Mikasa says. Those are some good names. Gloria says. And I have to assume that the female one is to commemorate Eren's mother? Mikasa nods and Historia says. Now we should begin our meeting without Eren. When Eren is showing Zeke his father's memories, they see the moment when Eren is born, and both Grisha and Carla are happy about it. How happy he looks considering he's living his life after sending his friends and his old family straight to hell. So, what are you going to do?
Eren asks.
I'll make you understand just how Grisha Jaeger brainwashed his son and planted those seeds of nationalism into you for as long as it takes. Then he turns to Grisha and says, Isn't that great, Grisha? No one will cast blame on you here for forgetting everything about your first family, to enjoy this happy life, even if you forgot everything about the son you once had. Then when they go into the memory where he's taking care of one of the royalty, Zeke says, Look, Eren, this is who he truly is. He used his position as a doctor to nestle up to those with power inside the walls, all to pin down their king and steal the founding titan. Of course, if he messed up, his wife and son wouldn't get off scot-free. Yet he continues to take these risks. Do you understand why? Because my shitty old man was such a big piece of shit that he'd throw his wife and kids into a pile of shit if it meant restoring Eldia. Eren says, I see now I was wrong. I never should have been born. I'm no longer brainwashed. Eren decides to say in a boring matter. We have all the time in the world. No need to rush. But just as they go through the memories, they also see how Grisha finds where the founding titan is located. What is this place? Zeke asks. This is the king of the wall's base. Eren says, but then as Zeke watches, he gasps. Impossible. Grisha should have stolen the founder the day the walls were destroyed. That's years from now. Then they see Grisha leave without doing anything, and he also goes back home and hugs the baby Eren. I see. It seems he did love his second son, enough to put his mission from the restorationists aside. It's almost nothing like what happened to me. It does seem he'd learned from his past mistakes, but now you do exactly as he wanted. You've lost your true self. You'll see that soon enough. Just then, he hears Grisha, who is nearly sleeping. Zeke, I'm so sorry. Zeke flinches a little, and Grisha opens his eyes and mutters. Zeke, is that you there? After staying silent for a while, Grisha holds his head and says, Heh, don't be ridiculous. Why would that bearded old man be Zeke? It's just a dream. What? Zeke is confused. Eren says, You'll know what's going on. Let's go to the next memory.